I think if we're going to look at the season overall, we can't look past day one, which was the big defeat that Rick's GG had. Obviously, it surprised everyone, the big loss to Ice Cream. But if you were to look at that, that was like the kick up the arse that they needed, right? They needed that little punt to... They then take a week off, and then since then, they've not looked back. They've looked like the Rick's GG that we know and love, that we've seen throughout the WREC. Unfortunately, didn't go and win the finals, but maybe this time,
hopefully the curse gets lifted.
They could lift that curse and go on to the finals and do really well, because the 6-1 finish, it's the Ricks we expect.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's all about Paolo, the Turkish representative, surprising everyone, getting into the top 4 and getting into that number 2 seed as well. You know, beating the likes of Viv Esports, beating the likes of Team Queso. Yes, they did lose to teams like Formulation and to Ricks, but I think they're going to get the momentum with their new jungler to get straight into the finals.
For me, it's the rise and fall of Queso.
Queso
started off 4-0,
Ooh.
and then they went 0-3. I mean, it was peak and then trough, and then I think they need to spend this next month and a bit getting themselves back in the seat and ready for the final. It's interesting. A lot of the teams have been up and down. Ricks has been the consistent team, of course, ever since that first week. But every other team, and of course, we talk about the elephant in the room. Formulation not making it.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest hit. They were looking at the start of the season, even coming into it before the season began, they'd won obviously the cup that you covered mid-season at 3-0 over Ricks. It was suddenly like, whoa, this is like the super team is starting to perform, and they were. In fairness, they were just the smallest of margins has cost them a place in the finals. It's crazy.
I mean, you go back to the games that they lost, like you mentioned, the series against Rex, which was every single game above 25 minutes. The loss versus Team Queso as well, where Team Queso were playing the funnel comps for the first time, and then that loss against Viv as well. So them three losses were vital into Formulation not making it, because they lost the tiebreaker in the end.
A night-and-day performance as well from Viv towards the end of the season. The absolute demolition that Parla put on them. We were just like looking at the next matchup, we were just thinking, well, they're going to get swept aside, but instead they turned to wasn't Queso to Formulation the next day.
Question for you, because it kind of relates to the teams and the players. If you had to build a super team out of all the players and the team and teams from across right, do you want to hear mine?
Go on.
Random.
Yep.
Andre.
Snitch. Okay.
Doom, Heste. That's my super team.
Doom and Heste. Yeah. It's hard to argue against it.
I think I have to go back and think about that one. I'm not too sure.
WREC and obviously what we've had here today throughout the season at the Snapdragon Pro Series. Like, who's the best performing players? I mean, Random, yes, but can you say Random without Seven helping him? That's the thing. Like, can you say Andre instead of Seven?
Heste. I think Heste time and time again has proven that he is one of the best supports out there, and one of the reasons for me why Viv are in that finals and are guaranteed that third seed as well.
Quite literally the reason they won that series.
Quite literally, if you any of the series you can look at that Viv are involved in, always talking about Heste as an out and out man. I think that's safe. I think we 100% could agree on that one. Mumu out there as a potential for the AD. Obviously has done very well. The only man to get a pentakill, albeit under the fountain. But the only man, I mean, in terms of obviously the rise of Queso in the start of the season, it was all on Mumu.
It really was. I think it was all about, the supports behind them as well. They had the supports behind them. Floor on the Janna, you had the Karma mid lane as well, which allowed Mumu to thrive. But he's shown that he can carry, even when he doesn't have supports by his side, even when he just has champions by his side as well, he can still carry on the likes of Kaisa, Tristana, Jinx, as you mentioned as well, with the pentakill. So yeah, for me, he's definitely someone to look at.
I think I'm looking at what we've had throughout the season, and obviously mid laners are very different to what we traditionally call, because sometimes they are the assassins, but sometimes they've been the Karmas, which I hate to see. The Corki, we've seen a Lucian, we've seen all sorts in the mid.
I just, personally, I do love Don. I just think he's a bit one-dimensional compared to some of the mid laners. I think if Don's not on things like the Yone, Zeds, the Yasuos, doesn't have as much. Whereas Snitch is the thing about Snitch is that he might not be the flashiest player in existence, but he plays everything, and he performs on everything. Snitch has not got a weakness. Snitch never ints. He never makes stupid plays. he is just dependable,
Yeah.
solid,
Consistent.
consistent,
Yeah.
fits the team. He plays, you don't need to build a team around Snitch. Snitch will play around your team, and that's what's actually really important. And for mid lane, which often this season has fallen into a bit of a one-dimensional, you picking assassins, you're picking AD mid laners, Snitch offers something different to his team that allows his other laners to perform. Snitch might not be the guy carrying the game, but he's certainly the guy that enables the comp to act the way it does.